Today is Monday, June 30th, and I'm just wondering what the old gray wolf Mike Rhyner might be up to.
And now, a word from our title sponsor.
Eyeing retirement? We aim to turn your nest egg into a paycheck with half the amount you've been led to believe. Fluent Financial combines in-house portfolio design risk management with income-generating investments designed to aid your financial independence. Our goal is to develop an effective portfolio strategy to help you retire sooner and have a better lifestyle. Fluent Financial can also implement a program that allows business owners to install a cash balance plan, which may potentially reduce income tax payments. You've worked hard to become successful. Let us help develop an effective portfolio strategy that works for you. Learn more today about Fluent Financial. Retire sooner, better lifestyle. For more information or to schedule a meeting, visit fluentfinancial.com or call 972-852-4800.
Mike Rhyner's now, shall we say, almost as old as me. He's also a Texas Radio Hall of Famer. Rhyner helped create the wonderfully successful radio station The Ticket in 1994, and his afternoon show, The Hardline, dominated DFW ratings in that time slot for decades. Just a few years ago, he was instrumental in bringing me onto The Ticket. And just as he has done in helping me before, he also helped convince me to make the new home of my podcast, Just Wondering, the Sunset Lounge. So it's fitting that the first guest for this podcast on Sunset Lounge should be Mike Rhyner himself. Howdy, buddy.
Hi, Norman. How are you?
I'm good, Mike. I'm good.
I'm honored to be with you. I'm honored to be the first guest on this phase of your scene and your career and everything.
Well, you are the old gray wolf. So, how old are you and how long have you been gray?
The answer to that first question is 74. For another couple of months or so.
All right.
And how long have I been gray? I probably really started getting there in probably the early aughts is when I really crossed over that threshold.
Like a lot of, as you well know, a lot of radio personalities are fake personalities. It's something they strap on for 2 or 3 or 4 hours a day. But you are that same person off air that you are on air.
That's all I know how to be. I'm a one-trick pony. I am what I am, and if you like it, that's great. We can hang. If you don't, well, door's over there. But, you know, the same thing can be said about you.
Well, we both know something. It's hard to keep two personalities straight at the same time. The fake one and the real one.
Yes, it is. I can only manage one, so that's what I stay with.
I can hardly manage one myself, bud. You left The Ticket in 2020, and a couple of years later started another radio show on a competing station. That only lasted about 1.5 years. Looking back, do you wish you'd stayed at The Ticket?
I don't know if I wish I'd stayed at The Ticket, but I pretty much wish I'd never gotten involved in that other scene because it was a mess from the get-go. And I knew very early on that this was not going to work, but it was important to them that I be there, and I did like the people I was working with, Jeff Kavanaugh and Julie Dobbs, and I wanted to hang in there for them, so I stayed to the bitter end like everybody else.
Mike, do you miss the day-to-day action of everyday radio?
A little bit. I do. That's one of the things I always really liked about it, the fact that, you know, you were there every day, you were on every day, you were sort of chronicling the universe and the world as it turned every day. And I always thought that was one of the really cool things about it.
Before we get into some sports opinions, I've got a couple of subjects from your deeper past. Don't worry, Mike. I'm not bringing up some of that stuff. In the early 80s, you were working at the zoo.
Yes.
And in 1982, you received a personal letter from John Hinckley, the man who tried to assassinate Ronald Reagan in 1981.
I did.
First, why did he write to you?
Because I wrote to him first.
Really?
Yeah, I wrote a letter to him first, just on a lark. He was in prison then. And I was thinking, well, there's no way it will ever get to him. And then one day at the station, there's a letter in my inbox from somewhere in, I don't know, Virginia or somewhere like that. And it had a kind of a official looking return address, but no name or anything. So I got it and I took it in there and opened it up, and I was just looking at it. And the longer I looked at it, I started to realize what it was. I just went, oh man, he wrote me back.
That brought you an enormous amount of attention. What did he say to you?
My letter to him was just, hey, how's it going? I work at a radio station in Dallas called The Zoo. I know you used to live here, and I was wondering if maybe you ever listened to The Zoo, and, you know, just pleasantries like that. You know, nothing really deep, or I didn't ask him why he did it or anything like that, you know. It was just a letter that was totally written to see what might happen.
And what was in his return letter?
He told me that, yes, he did remember the zoo. He listened to it quite a bit when he was growing up. And he thought it was nice that somebody from the zoo remembered him. And I think I told him that we'd been chronicling everything that had been going on with him, you know, the whole legal process and everything. And there was some song that he mentioned that he used to listen to because it put him in a strange mood. And I can't think of what that song was today. That was a long time ago. And honestly, I wasn't expecting you to bring this up.
Mike, did you write any more letters like that to other people?
No, that's my only foray into fishing, you know, fishing illegal personalities with letters.
Finally, on this topic, when you get a chance, look at the internet, call up John Hinckley's name, like I did getting ready for this interview, and tell me if you don't think he looks somewhat like George Dunham.
I've seen recent pictures of him, and yes, there's a some resemblance there. There is.
Okay, on to music. You're the band Petty Theft. You previously created a Birds tribute band, the Nerds, and also a Bob Dylan tribute band, Buick Six. What came first, your love of music or your love of sports?
Probably my love of music, only because I began to understand that I began to understand it and respond to music in a certain way at an earlier age than I did sports. I got into sports when I was about 9, but when I was a little kid in the house, the radio was always on. My mom loved music, and it was around quite a bit. So the answer to that would be definitely music.
So how much is petty theft still out there?
We probably do about 20 dates a year or so, something like that. It's maybe a few more, some years a few less. Our game and the game of a lot of others like us got hit pretty hard with by the pandemic. Mm-hmm. And there were some places that we used to play that shut down and never came back. So we've had to sort of revamp the way we do things. There were also a lot of events like in suburbs. Suburbs would, throw civic events for the people who lived up that way, and they would hire us to play and everything like that. And those aren't really there anymore either. So we've sort of had to retool the way we do things a little bit, but we're still out there.
On to sports. Your love is baseball. Clearly, your love is baseball of the sports. Okay, I have a big Ranger question. What on earth happened to the offense on this team this year?
Nobody knows, Norm. Nobody knows. I've asked everybody I know that. I get a wide, diverging range of answers. But you know what I think it is more than anything else? I think it's the fact that in this game right now, pitching is really, really good. I mean, I'm sure you remember like in the late 60s when pitching just started dominating games. All the games were low scoring. There were guys who were throwing shutout. I mean, every day there was a shutout or two that guys were throwing in the 1969, 1970 around then. Denny McLain in 1968 won 31 games. And all of that led to the creation in 1972 of that crazy little thing that we know today as the designated hitter. That was their way of getting offense back into the game. And that, that worked somewhat, but I think hitters also caught up to the pitching a little bit. But this thing is cyclical. For some phases, hitters dominate. Some phases, pitchers dominate. And I think right now, more than anything else, we're going through a phase where there's really, really good pitching out there.
Mike, I would like to thank you for jogging my memory on a player's name. That's Denny McLain, who, by the way, eventually went to prison, we should point out.
Yes, that's right.
But Denny McLain was an outrageously good pitcher. And one day he faced Mickey Mantle in Old Tiger Stadium. And if you remember Old Tiger Stadium, which very few of our listeners, viewers would, it was a giant of a place with a huge light standard on top of the left field wall and a right field wall. And one day, Mickey Mantle took Denny McLain all the way to the roof of the third deck and hit the light standard up there. So Mantle limps around the bases, as you saw him do for years, Mike, because he had bad knees. And McLain stood there and watched, and he just stood there and watched for 10 seconds, 15 seconds. And finally, the umpire signaled him to pitch. And McLain instead said, "Come out to see me." So his catcher started out to see him. And McLain said, No, not you, the umpire. Come out to see me. So the umpire comes out. McLain meets him halfway to the plate and asks the plate umpire, he just gets one for that, right? I miss those old times, Mike. No offense to the players of the new age, but the personalities are generally so lacking these days.
Yeah, they are. And some of these guys do have great personality. I was out there last night where they were putting Elvis Andrus into the Rangers Hall of Fame. And they had everybody from those teams out there, just about. And I got to tell you, it hit me in my feels, man, watching those guys all together and seeing Adrian Beltre out there. Michael Young was out there. Virtually anybody who was significant on those teams was there, although Ian Kinsler was not. And I found that sort of odd. I guess he had a previous commitment or something. I don't know. But anyway, they were all out there, and seeing all those guys together again really got to be, and really made me remember what, number one, good teams those were. And I know they had some troubles in the playoffs, and, you know, they never got to the World Series or didn't win a World Series or anything like that. But I'm always of the mind that there's something to be said for getting there, you know? I mean, you may not win it, but you got there. There's something, some little something maybe to be said for that, but you did get there. That means you were better than everybody else except one. And I really feel sorry for those guys because, number one, they were really good. They just happened to run across somebody who was a little bit better than they were in those years. But the other thing that I remembered was how much fun those guys had playing the game of baseball. And now they grinded. They grinded for sure. They were grinders. They played to win. They played hard. But while they were at it, they had some fun. And Elvis Andrus was right in the big middle of all that. He was the instigator.
Hope springs eternal for the Cowboys. Should it this year?
I don't know yet. I try to tamp down on that because I know in the end game, something's going to go wrong. It always does with this thing. I don't know what it's going to be. Maybe it'll be bad chemistry. Maybe it'll be injuries. Maybe Dak will get hurt again and have to miss about half the year like he did last year. And they won't have any kind of plan B or anything like that. But that said, I'm interested in seeing what this thing's going to look like because I think they've done a pretty good job of adding guys who might turn into something and might be useful. I'm really interested in seeing what Blue, the running back from Texas, is going to look like because I thought he was really good there. I see hope. I see reason for optimism if you want to be, but I also know how things always wind up out there, and something's going to go wrong.
I know you're a critic of the Luka Doncic trade, but now Cooper Flagg is here. Are you starting to get excited about a Maverick team that has a potential to be the best defensive basketball team we may have ever seen in this city?
Yeah, no, this is a two-part question you're asking.
Yeah.
Am I starting to get excited about Cooper Flagg? Yes, I am. The guy is, I mean, I saw him play in college, not a lot, but some. But he's kind of a basketball Heinz 57 because he can do it all. He's kind of a basketball Swiss Army knife is a better way to put it.
Yes.
Because there's nothing he can't do. They tell us he can guard any position on the floor. He plays inside. He plays outside. He shoots the three. He can handle the ball. He finds the open guy. I mean, he sounds like a really, really nice player. Now, has that helped me get over the Luka Doncic trade? No, it hasn't. I mean, this is all well and good and everything, and I think they might have a chance to be good. But they did the unthinkable there. They traded a once-in-a-lifetime generational player. They traded a one of one. And the thing that I really can't believe, and the thing that really irritates me about the whole thing is the guy who did it is still on the job. He should be fired, Norm. He should have been fired long ago. You talk about fire him, fire him. If you want to get your fan, I mean, you're going to have to if you want to get your fan base back. I mean, Cooper flag or no Cooper flag, people are still pissed about this. And a lot of people said at the time that they're giving up on the Mavericks and they're never coming back. And you know what? Normally, when fans start making those statements, I go, yeah, sure. But I believe them. I believe a lot of them who have said that they are done with the Mavericks and they are not coming back.
And finally, Jim Nill is the general manager of the Dallas Stars. Is he the best GM in this, as you would say, Fairburg?
We have two good ones and two that are, shall we say, lacking. And Jim Nill is one of the good ones. And if you were to ask me to pick between him and the other good one, Chris Young of the Rangers, I think I would pick Jim Nill. Because Jim Nill puts together a contending team, a strong contending team every year. And for the entirety of the season, I thought that we were looking at a very, very possible Stanley Cup winner.
Yeah.
I mean, from the early days of the season on. Now, there was a little bit of a lull there in the middle where I wasn't quite so sure, but the Stars got it back together again. And Jim Nill made a move or two, which he always does, and they made the Final Four in the National Hockey League tournament and happened to run into a team that was better than them. So be it.
Mike, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for years of friendship. And I'm really happy about joining you in the Sunset Lounge.
Norm, I want to thank you for years of friendship, too. And I loved having you at the ticket. That's a story we need to tell sometime.
Yeah.
And, I loved having you there. I thought you brought something there that we otherwise did not have. I've admired you for years and years, even going back to when I was a puppy dog at the zoo, and you were across the hall at WFAA AM doing the 6 o'clock show and everything. I admired you then. I admired you the first time I saw you on Channel 4 Sports back in the day, in the early 70s, I guess that would have been. And I'm thrilled to have you here, man. I'm really thrilled to have you here. And I think this is going to be a good place for you. I think this is going to be good for all of us.
Thank you, Mike. God bless you. Stay well.
You too, Norman.
In 1993, Bob Sample opened the original Bob's Steak and Chop House on Lemon Avenue. 32 years later, the original Bob still greets you at the original Bob's. And now his sparkling new Bob's in Craig Ranch and McKinney has opened. Same fantastic beef and fresh seafood at these two Bob's, each run by Bob. Bob's Steak and Chop House.
Today's episode has been brought to you by Fluent Financial. Retire earlier, live better. And by Bob's Steak and Chop House on Lemon in Dallas and in Craig Ranch in McKinney. Bob's, a Dallas tradition for more than 30 years.
If you've enjoyed Just Wondering, please hit follow, and a fresh new episode will land in your mailbox early every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning. Should you know a sports fan who might like our work, please share our contact information with that person. Just Wondering is technically directed by my wife Mary, who is also occasionally a talent on the show. It's produced by Mike Matern, edited and posted by Ashley Bullington. Thanks for listening to today's episode of Just Wondering. I'm Norm Hitzges, and know that every day I'll be just wondering about something.
And I'm Mary Hitzges, and I'll just be wondering too.
This is a Stolen Water Media production.